So I love using assignment directions and assignment rubrics to help build a schedule and build an outline. This is really great for, again, fighting procrastination once we're able to take a large, what could be an overwhelming project and break it down into short, manageable pieces. And then once we get started on it, we realize it's really not that bad, and we're able to plan for more time and effort, ultimately contributing to a better end product. So I want to show you just what this would look like if after you build your outline. So remember from the other video, I recommended that you take the assignment directions and you start to build a presentation with those. So here we can start collecting information for, let's say the title of this presentation is, or the topic of this presentation is to be a university professor. So I'm going to first go to Career Coach in order to collect some information about this career. So here, if I put professor, let's see what comes up. Okay, it looks like they do get detailed. So let me scroll through. I want to become a psychology professor. Let's see if I find that. Okay, so here. So a psychology professor. So ONET and Career Coach have already done a really great job in putting together some of these summaries and task lists. I expect that this section of your presentation is actually going to come directly from those sources. I know how these are written. I know where the information comes from, and at the end of your presentation, you are going to cite it. So it is okay for you to include some of that directly into your project. So right there, I have my summary. Career Coach is also a great place to go. Make sure that you are using the Show More to get all of the typical tasks. So these are the typical detailed work activities. So again, I go here. I need the specific task, detailed work activities. I'm including that information. Now, again, in your presentation, in your narration, you don't have to read all of these. An example, because I can read, right? I'm looking at your screen, but an example in the narration piece may be some of the specific tasks and detailed work activities of a psychology professor are to prepare course materials. And this is something that I'm really excited about because I'm a strong organizer and I love putting together initial outlines and plans, and this would be something really exciting that I can do in the beginning of the semester for syllabi and schedule of activity. I also, as an organizer, love maintaining all sorts of records, and as a psychology professor, I'll have to maintain records and grades and make sure that I am keeping track of any student's work. Again, this whole process of planning and evaluating and revising comes through, again, in the development of curriculum and course content. So as a strong organizer and analytic thinker, I think that I'm going to really enjoy those tasks. So again, I'm not reading directly from the slide. I'm focusing on a few bullets that I'm excited about and going from there. Now, the next section is our general knowledge, skills, abilities, and responsibilities. This isn't, going to Career Coach isn't the best place for this, but I find ONET to be a wonderful resource for finding this. So I would actually take this career title and I would go to ONET and search it here and see if the same title comes up. And here I see psychology, teachers, post-secondary, and look, oh, it's a Bright Outlook Career 2. So here in ONET, it's not laid out as nicely as Career Coach, but we can see some of the specific tasks. Here you can see 5 of 23 are displayed. We can use to see all of them. And you might find that there is a longer list of detailed work activities in ONET than what you found in Career Coach. Feel free to modify that original list. But as we're looking forward to some of the general knowledge and skills and abilities, here you're going to see these sections of technology skills, knowledge, general skills like speaking, active listening, critical thinking, abilities. Now, there's a lot of information here, so it wouldn't be useful to you or to me if you were to copy and paste all of this over. But here's where you can start to go through and say, okay, what information is not common sense or expected, and or what are you really interested in? So obviously, if you're going to be an English professor, or a psychology professor in the United States, you're going to have some command of the English language. So I don't think that you should include that here, but it may be more useful for you to include information here, like pulling this bullet. Maybe in the general skills here, active listening, critical thinking, learning strategies, reading comprehension, specifically some of the skills that are targeted in SLS. Here you might start to find that meaning of, okay, well, I'm learning how to do this in college so that I actually have to do this well and perform this well later in my career. I think a lot of these skills have real value in helping you set an intention and purpose for learning and the types of learning tasks that you're engaged with in a college setting. And again, the same thing here for the abilities. So here you can pick which ones are most exciting or most relevant, and you can include those in your PowerPoint. So the best place to find this information, I think, is on ONET, so just make a little note there. The work environment and typical day, this may already be covered in the information that you collect previously. There is some of it might be collected through ONET, but a lot of that is going to be common sense. So as a nurse or as a psychology professor, you're going to be working in classrooms and in your office at a college or university. You can choose between community college, university, state school, private school, but that's pretty common sense. Your entry, median, and experienced wages. This information is very easily taken from ONET or from Career Coach. I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel there, but make sure that you are including both the entry, the median, and the experienced wages. Also, your job outlook is going to also be easily accessed, and you'll need that for those next sections, your job outlook. Job locations and portability. This question is really asking, can you take this job anywhere? So as a psychology professor, jobs may be limited. I would have to live in cities where there were colleges or universities. It's not a job like a nurse where I'd be able to find a job if I showed up anywhere. And then the other piece is the job posting. Again, we can go to ONET, or Career Coach. Career Coach is sort of in your face if you're following this format. It's going to list all of the businesses. Career Coach is limited to our geographic area, so it's going to list the businesses, the colleges or universities that are hiring in our area. But you can click on current job postings. This is going to take you to Indeed, and you can start to search for a job posting there. So here's faculty in social psychology. And the purpose of the job posting is for you to, again, start to look at what are the essential job functions, what are the tasks, and what I want you in this to start to see is that there is a connection between what job postings are saying, the tasks and the skills and the abilities that will need to be performed on a daily basis, how these align with the information that you collected in your initial career details section. I want you to start to see that connection. I also want you to see that there are a lot of jobs out there, and then you can search this by different geographic areas, you can search it by different states, and start to see that your dream career is really a possibility or not. So those are two functions of you including the job posting in your presentation. The education and training section, I think, is probably the hardest because it's not a grab and go like the career details and the salary and the outlook. So there are some resources that I provided in my announcement for you to investigate, but we can start at Career Coach. And here in the first section, when it goes to the career details, you're going to see the typical education level is a doctoral or professional degree. Please make sure that you're aware of that, because it does get confusing. Career Coach gets confusing towards the end when it says what programs are available and it says an AA in psychology. I don't want you to see this last piece and think, oh, I just need an associate's degree in order to be a university professor. So make sure you're making that distinction. This is also found on ONET in the job zone. So extensive preparation, needs a PhD, and related experience. And be careful if you're using this section in job post, because this was a survey of professionals in the career. I think it was a survey of 100 respondents. So this is saying that of the survey of 100 people that they asked, 38 had a master's degree, 38 had a PhD, and 24 were postdocs, so had fellowships beyond the PhD. That might add up to 100. So just be careful that this is a sampling of the population and doesn't paint the picture entirely. So what are the resources you should use? So once we know that the level of degree that's required, so that's going to be here. So the level is going to be a PhD. And we know that in order to earn a PhD, we're going to need to do an AA, and then a bachelor's, and then a master's, and then a PhD. So that would answer this first question of level. The next are example of degree names and titles. Now here, the best advice if your career requires a bachelor's degree or higher is for you to pick a university that is of interest to you. So here, I just decided to go to FSU because I thought that would be easy for me to search, living in the state of Florida. So go to academics. I would go to academic departments and programs. I would try to find something that looked, arts and sciences. Usually those liberal arts are in this. And then I find departments, programs, psychology. So here is the University of Florida's Department of Psychology webpage. And I can use this to explore both undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees. So here's where I would get some examples of degree titles and courses. When I click on the graduate, I can see that there are these different specializations and program areas. So this might be something interesting for me to include in this section. So I could include, it would be a bachelor's in psychology, or it could be a PhD in clinical. And what were some of the other names? So there was clinical, there was cognitive, developmental, so I may decide to include those. So those would be examples of different degree names. So the next section has us list examples of courses within the major and the guided pathway beginning at IRSC. Might be beneficial to actually switch those around because first we start at IRSC. This is pretty simple. You can go to the IRSC website, and if you go to Programs and Careers, click on your guided pathways. And here I'm finding psychology, and I'm a full-time student. And here you can just take some screenshots and include those screenshots. Just going to move that out of the way because it's... And then this would take care of, you'd need a couple of them for the 2 pages that's listed there. So this would take care of your guided pathway. And then we can go back to FSU's website, and I'm starting to find the list of courses. So this was graduate, which I think would be exciting to explore some of those, but for undergraduate, can look at requirements, and here start pulling together some of these course titles. So Introduction to Brain and Behavior, that sounds really exciting. I'm going to pull that over. And again, you don't have to include all of them. It would be better for you to include the ones that were interesting and relevant to you. That would let me know that you were discerning as you were going through your list. So that sounded really exciting to me. Oh, this is exciting as well. So you can include a sampling of those courses. I just deleted them. If there's any additional information, so this is this career requires a PhD, so it might be useful for you to start to dig into the graduate section, start to explore the prospective students, what would I need to do in order to get admitted into the program. It will list information about the GRE, and so that might prompt me to start researching what is the GRE, and then you can include that information as well. As I said in my prior video, the next, after you go through the education and training, the next section is the reality check. The reality check has you can go back to M4A2, start listing the pros and the cons, what you're seeing as the perks and the incentives versus the negatives and the drawbacks. This is your initial analysis. So please don't go to Google and just write pros of being a psychology professor. Go back and based on all the information that you collected, what are you starting to see as some of the pros? Well, I get nervous talking in front of people, so delivering lectures to large groups may be intimidating to me. That may be a con, right? Entry-level wage of $42,000 a year. If I'm going to go to school for a bachelor's degree and a PhD, that's an awful long time to start at a low wage. So here, it's based on the information that you found. It's your analysis, it's your processing, not somebody else's. So that's the reality check section. Again, a lot of you have already done this for M4A2. Next, you'll pull in your results from the different self-assessments. A lot of students may right, you can go and find this. Again, look up a picture and then paste it here. Oops, it's not pasting. So again, here you can double check and you can say, okay, I included the personality spectrum, check, that's there. My multiple intelligence, my successful intelligence, my emotional intelligence, some of my BE. Okay, what's missing? Oh, there's the ONET, or these are your interest profiler from Career Coach. So it looks like everything is there. The only thing that I might want to include is the work values, and that was from Module 4. Okay, and then next you will move into what I consider to be the strongest part of the presentation. Now that you've collected information about the career, you've collected information about yourself, I want you to assess the match or the mismatch. So the first piece that you want to look at is strengths and preferences from the self-assessments. So you may find you want to go back here and you want to list them specifically. So here you would link specifically what were your results. So as a strong analytical thinker based on Sternberg's successful intelligence assessment, I think I would be a great fit for a career as a university professor because, and the best advice I can give you here is to understand what the strength is and then go back to that initial list of specific activities and find the connection. So as a strong analytic thinker, I have the ability to see both the big picture and all of the moving parts. As an analytic, I'll have the strength as a university professor in planning and evaluating and revising curriculum. Okay, great. Next one. Emotional intelligence. I have a high emotional intelligence. And then what can I connect that back to? So again, you're using the information that you collected earlier and you're showing me that you can make these meaningful connections because that is what the process of career exploration requires. Next, you want to take it to your interests and your needs. So my interests, I love being a student. I could see myself spending the next 10 years in college. Therefore, this is a realistic career option for me. So explore some of the needs and interests. Again, you can go back to M4A2 where you had to examine your needs and your motives, and you may want to pull some of that in and create a bulleted list and add some of your text for your speech part. Next and last, you're going to connect it to your personal values and your long-term goals. So as a personal value of lifelong learning, I can see myself being situated within the context of post-secondary where I am constantly inspiring others to become lifelong learners, but then always continuing my research passions as well. So connecting it back to your values and being specific. And your final evaluation, are you a good fit? Yes. Tell me why. If you haven't told me that already, and if not, what have you learned and what direction are you going to go in next? Your last slide should be an annotation, but remember, we should have some of these sources here. So we'll have career coach. And for the purpose of your annotation, I just want you to tell me what you got from that site. So I got my career details, salary, Outlook, and my job posting. Okay, whoops. And that would suffice your annotation for the purpose of this project. So I know this is a long video, but hopefully it helped break it down and provided you some tips by each area. Please make sure that you're utilizing me during my office hours. I'm on campus on Monday and Wednesday afternoons after my classes. You can call me, you can stop by, or we can schedule a phone conference. But please use me now as you prepare to break down this large project. I've noticed that a lot of your best work so far in the semester was in Module 4 when you started to investigate a career that is of interest to you. So I'm excited to see what you come up with for these final projects.